Hello, and welcome to the Elevator Careers Podcast, sponsored by the Allred Group. I am your host, Matt Allred. In this podcast, we talk to the people whose lives and careers are dedicated to the vertical transportation industry to inform and share lessons learned, building upon the foundation of those who have gone before to inspire the next generation of elevator careers. Today, we're talking with Cory Hussey, the Chief Operating Officer of Stanley Elevator. Cory's father, Neil, played a key role in building Stanley Elevator during the 70s and 80s, and eventually he purchased the business from Richard Stanley. Cory essentially grew up in the business and was fortunate to work in different areas of the company during high school and college. After college, he started working in the business full-time to pay for law school. Cory quickly fell in love with the elevator industry and has never looked back. Cory, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me, Matt.
Thank you. I appreciate you taking some time to talk. I've always been intrigued by Stanley Elevator. I've just heard little bits and pieces about how it was started. So I'm curious, how did Stanley Elevator start, and how did you come to be the COO?
Oh boy, yeah. I wasn't around when it started, so these are stories that I've been told. But as the legend goes, the business was started in 1951 by Irving Stanley. People called him Jake. And Jake worked for Payne Elevator for a period of time and was laid off due to a slowdown in the construction business, and was looking for things to do, and knew the priest who ran St. Anselm's College in Manchester, New Hampshire. I guess St. Anselm's at that time needed an elevator installed, and Jake had a slightly used elevator in his garage. Not quite sure where that came from, but so the priest ended up hiring Jake to install that elevator in a building up at St. Anselm's. Jake ended up installing the elevator for a lot less than he had charged the school, and went back to the priest to try and give him the balance back. And the priest said, I think you should keep that money and take it and start your own business. And so that's the story everybody's been told, and how the business started. And then
That's cool.
Jake ended up bringing his three sons in, Warren, Bill, and Richard. And ended up Richard bought out the two brothers down the line, and then my father got involved and ended up purchasing the business from Richard.
So obviously a multi-generational venture through two families so far, and it sounds like you've kind of grown up knowing, being inside the business. Is that accurate?
Yeah. I mean, I was over here at the building that Stanley was in for many, many years when I was very young. I have very vivid memories of being a little guy running around the building at Christmas parties, and
sure,
probably messing things up, and then was fortunate enough to be able to work in the summer during high school at the business, in the shop, and then through college, and joined full time like 2 days after I graduated college, because I didn't have any money left, so I needed to get on the employment game real quick there. So.
But when was it that you said, "Hey, I want to be in this business"?
Oh, geez. Well, I think I ended up when I was getting done with college. I didn't know what I wanted to do, and like a lot of people who don't know what they want to do, I was like, well, maybe I'll go to law school, right?
Sure.
So my father said, well, if you're going to go to law school, rather than borrow money to do it, why don't you work during the day? And there's a school in Boston called Suffolk, and you could take night classes. And so I started doing that, and not thinking I was ever going to work for my father or the elevator business, but I'd say a year or two in, started to really enjoy it, and haven't looked back since. So
that is awesome. What is it that you love most about the industry?
I really like how dynamic the business is. From the outside, people who aren't in the industry probably think, it's elevators, it's boring, it's straightforward. But I mean, I always tell people I sit down on Sunday nights pretty religiously and put together a plan for the week. And by 9 a.m. on Monday morning, that plan's totally out the window. There's every day brings something totally different, a new challenge. But the challenges are although difficult sometimes, they're rewarding too. I think you feel a pretty good sense of accomplishment getting through the day-to-day things in the business, but not for everybody, certainly. But I think for the right type of person, this is a really engaging business for sure.
That's cool. What would you say makes Stanley different than some of your competitors? I know you're pretty strong there in the Boston area, but you're competing against multinationals every day.
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty simple. Like, I mean, I think we just treat people well, or try to treat people well. We give people the ability to do their job and do it at a high level. We're not managing on a short-term basis, financials on a short-term basis. We take the long view, which I think if you look at the elevator business, it's really, you have to take the long view, and we're competing against a lot of people that can't do that. I think our people are by far the biggest differentiator for us. We bring in folks that care a lot about not only Stanley, but of course our customers. And when somebody's elevator's down, people take it personally and do everything they can to make sure we can be there for them and get it up and running as quickly as possible. So that's pretty much, I mean, other than that, we probably look pretty similar to everybody else. I think probably if there were a competitive advantage, I always like to say, like, caring is our competitive advantage. We really care a lot. We're certainly not perfect, but we try as hard as we can all the time.
Yeah, no, and that's all you can do. I've talked to some of your employees different times over the years. It seems like they've been there a long time, that they stick around. Any idea how long the person with the most tenure has been with the company?
Yeah, because he reminds me all the time. My father, he's 52 years. Yeah, but we just had a field a service mechanic who retired with actually 50. I think he was almost 55 years.
Wow.
And was never. I don't believe he was ever laid off one time. So that's pretty amazing when you think about it.
So all the while with Stanley, because I know a lot of times, especially union employees, they can kind of bounce from company to company, but this gentleman had been there at your company the entire time.
Yeah. As far as I know, that was the he was with us the entire time, and we've had other people right up there with that type of tenure. One of our, especially with the field, our strategy is to really self-grow people. So
Sure.
we really try to get apprentices, really good apprentices, and hope that they spend their whole career here. And we develop them into the service mechanics and the adjusters and the high level mechanics that we need to do the job. So
yeah, thank you for saying that. I was going to ask you, what are some of the things you do to develop your employees so they want to stay for 55 years?
Yeah, I think, we have a pretty well-defined progression, especially in the field with people's careers. So they'll typically start off in construction. We have a decent sized construction business for an independent as far as the industry goes. So we have a lot of opportunity for green apprentices to get experience in construction. Then from there, they'll typically work on a modernization team and work into the repair department, and then becoming a mechanic at some point along the line there. And then from the repair department, we're usually promoting people into service, so to take on a route. And we really try to make sure that our folks get, typically 10 to 15 years of experience before they're taking on their own service route. handling the service for 100 or so customers. So.
Right. That's great. And I've heard you talk some about developing within your office staff as well, whether it's a project manager or sales. What are some of the things you do to really build those people as well, or maybe even help them get in the right seat? Because I sometimes see talented people, but maybe they're not thriving as a salesperson. They're really a better project manager. Curious what you do there, and if you see that kind of situation.
Yeah, I mean, we believe in strengths-based management. So in fact, I know we've worked together, and I usually have a hard time putting the job description's easy, the title's difficult.
Sure.
So, typically people will arrive here at Stanley, join the team, and, we assess over a period of time where their skill set fits best. And we're okay with morphing into something different than where we started, especially for the right person. And to be honest with you, that happens often. We don't necessarily pigeonhole people based on an initial title or anything like that. I think it's tough in the hiring process to really get a feel for exactly where somebody might fit. So we'll work with people. We also, most of the management team here also have field experience. So
Okay.
they, I'd say 3/4 were mechanics, licensed mechanics at one point in their career. Another quarter spent time in the IUEC field management training program,
Right.
which allows them to work in the field. And so we're able to, new people to the industry especially are able to get a lot of knowledge from those folks that we have here in the office. I think that's another place where we differentiate a little bit. We have a lot of technical expertise in management and in the office.
Which is interesting because a lot of other companies that I talk to, it seems like it's getting harder and harder to get technical expertise to want to work in the office. Do you see that?
Oh, for sure. Yeah. I mean, I think it's been getting difficult over the course of the past 20, 25 years. The collective bargaining agreement has changed, limiting the ability to do some things that you used to be able to do to get field employees into management. The private market for insurances and retirement plans is different than what the union can offer. And it's a challenge. I think we've been able to do a pretty good job navigating that, identifying the right people and attracting them in different ways to kind of jump over to the management side.
Yeah, I think that's probably got to be a huge advantage. Just knowing what little I do, talking to others, and maybe struggling to bring that talent in, or to be able to pay enough or encourage, incent a mechanic to step into a supervisory role.
I mean, we look at it like we're only as good as the field. Like Stanley's only going to be as good as the people
Sure.
performing the work out there. And so, I think it's critical you have people who can support those folks in the field, who can empathize with them and understand what they're going through and understand their perspective. It's critical. I don't even know how people run companies any other way. To be honest with
Right.
you.
Well, I imagine that if you bring somebody who knows very little or nothing about working on an elevator, and they're trying to manage a group of union mechanics that have been at it for years,
Right.
It's got to be, I would I think it'd be extremely hard. And not only that, the mechanics, I would think, would have a hard time respecting someone who really doesn't know what they do or how they do it.
Yeah, I mean, it's again, it's the type of industry that there's no textbook you can study to get the knowledge you need. It's just, I think my father always used to say, there's no geniuses, or just people who've been around a long time here. And it truly, I see new things every day.
Sure.
And you just got to kind of slowly, incrementally get that experience. And it must be extremely hard for somebody new to the business to come in and try and try and manage seasoned field mechanics. I can't even imagine how it's done.
Sure. What would you say are some of the, I mean, we talked about, this particular staffing challenge, but as an independent, I imagine you have some different challenges than some of the bigger players. I know when I used to be an HR guy for a big Fortune 500, the attitude was kind of like, hey, people look us up. They come find us because they like us and our brand and they want to work for us. How does that affect you as an independent player in your market?
Yeah, I mean, I mean, obviously, I think our name is somewhat recognizable in the industry, but you've got names that are recognizable worldwide that we compete against, and
Sure.
their ability to attract, especially talent like right out of college and things like that, is probably greater than our ability to do that. But we just, again, I think we try to do it, fly under the radar a little bit, and we've had pretty good luck getting really great people to come work here. So whatever we're doing, I guess I don't know if it's working, but the fact that we can get good people, I guess that's proof that it's that it's somewhat working.
Sure. Just keep doing it, right?
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
That's cool. What are some of the big changes that you've seen over the last, I guess, 20 years or so? And curious what your thoughts are, going forward as you carry forward with those changes.
Yeah, I mean, I think the changes, let's see. Well, there's been a lot of changes with technology.
Sure.
Customer demand. So the customer has changed, especially on the service side. There's a lot more paperwork involved, a lot more administrative work than there probably was when I started in the business, even 20 or so years ago. It's really ramped up, and I mean, COVID's even accelerated that even more. There's just all sorts of hoops that you have to jump through to access people's sites, and construction the same way. A lot of paperwork around safety, and so we end up dealing with a lot more administrative type tasks. So we've really got a layer of administrative people, that work in conjunction with the more technical folks. So that's been a change. I think regulation has changed pretty significantly in the past 20 years. I also think the type of individual that's getting recruited into the IUEC apprenticeship program has changed. You just don't see a lot of young folks with mechanical experience. So, where maybe not 20 years ago, but let's say 30, 40 years ago,
sure,
kids in high school worked on their cars. That was that was what they did for fun. Now I think kids in school are much more working on computers and things like that. So they bring certain skills with the computers, but we also have to still service older equipment, and elevators are still a mechanical device. And so there's a certain level of mechanical aptitude that you need to be to excel in the business. So, we've certainly seen a change there where we have to work pretty hard to help get people up to speed, especially on the mechanical side.
That's interesting. So it's like the mechanical piece of that skill set isn't as prevalent, or maybe isn't as deep as than it used to be in the past.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's like I said, what young people do now is different than what they might have been doing years before. And then that said, certainly more established mechanics, sometimes we have training with computers for them, and they're really good mechanically. So it's just a change. I'm not sure it's negative, positive.
Sure.
It's just different. That's really where it's at.
Yeah. No, thank you for explaining that. Curious if you, and maybe we'll end with this question, and that is, if you were to give some advice to maybe who's somebody who's coming into the trade, or what would you say to them?
Yeah, I mean, I think and this is probably cliche, but I think you get out of this business what you put into it. And the more effort you put in, the more time you put in. There's just tons of people out there in this industry that love to teach and love to impart their knowledge on other people. And if you're willing to absorb that, the sky's the limit, really. There's so many different things you can do in the elevator industry. And I think that's if I were, coming out of college like right now, that would be really attractive to me. There's a lot of opportunities, and there's a lot of places to go in the business, and also a lot of opportunity to learn and figure out your path that works best for you. So I love it. I think for the right people, this is a great business to be in. And again, the proof is in the fact that I know a lot of people that started their careers in the elevator business, and I don't know very many people that ever leave. So
Absolutely. And I see that
something right there.
Absolutely. I see that a lot, that, people stay, and I do see, to your point, people love to teach. They love to be mentors. They love to bring somebody up. And so just a willingness to receive that gift is what I hear you saying. It just, if you just open your mind, you can do all kinds of things because of
yeah, for sure. There's no limit on opportunity. So
awesome.
That's a good thing.
Cory, thank you for being on today. I appreciate the time, and wish you the very best in your business.
Thanks, Matt. You too.
Thank you. Bye-bye. Thank you for listening to the Elevator Careers Podcast, sponsored by the Allred Group, a leader in elevator industry recruiting. You can check us out online at elevatorcareers.net. Please subscribe, and until next time, stay safe.